Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen, guys. The channel that brings you your daily Rangers update, your daily Rangers fix. If you need that daily Rangers update, if you need your daily Rangers fix, then hit that sub, ring that notification bell and come and join the channel. Guys, you can also join the channel in terms of becoming a member for as little as 99p, less than a cup of coffee. Hit the join button down below this video. Also, if you want to donate to support the channel, you can hit the super thanks button as well below the video. Okay, let's talk Glasgow Rangers. Let's talk all stories Glasgow Rangers. That's why you came here. Plus, at the end of the video, I'm going to share our very latest achievement here on the channel as well with you. Okay, so where shall we start, guys? A lot to get through today. We're going to talk about Sam Lammers and his medical today. We're going to talk about Antonio Colak, his future. We're going to talk about Malik Tillman and the latest stories coming out of Bayern Munich about him. We're going to talk about Dave King and the rumours in the newspapers about him teaming up with the Easdales brothers. We're going to talk a little bit about, obviously, all the Rangers deals and obviously share that achievement as well about Glasgow Rangers Nation right at the end of the pod. So hang on for that right at the very end. Okay, where to start? Well, there's only one place to start, obviously, and that is with the prospective arrival of Sam Lammers. Now, it has been reported by Sky Sports, so we know it's getting official when Sky Sports start reporting this. Jim White's going to do his transfer window routine, is he maybe? Anyway, so Sam Lammers. Obviously, this guy is coming to us from Atalanta. That's his parent club, even though obviously he spent last season on loan at Sampdoria, where he really struggled, but then again, so did Sampdoria. Sampdoria, I heard this morning, actually lost more games than they scored goals. They lost 25 games and scored 24 goals, which is pretty bad, isn't it? I mean, that is pretty shocking. I mean, we think we had a bad season, but that's nothing compared to what they had. I think, they did have a pretty shockingly bad season. So let's talk a little bit about Sam Lammers, the Dutch striker. Now, according to Sky Sports, he is set to leave Atalanta for Rangers, with the club agreeing a deal worth $3 million. That is what has been said. Now, apparently as well, he will have his medical today. Obviously, once and if that medical is successful, Lammers will then complete his move to Rangers today. Now, as I've said on all these videos, yesterday's video, day before's videos, we've talked a lot, haven't we? We've talked a great ad infinitum about Lammers. We've talked, about his prowess in front of goal, his struggles in Italy, his successes at Herenveen. We've talked obviously as well about, how in your comments about how he is certainly someone who divides fan opinion. Comparisons with Marco van Basten back at PSV and Herenveen. Comparisons more with, Marco van Basten's brother Dave, who works down the local chippy. In his time in Italy. But I think we've got to take into consideration a couple of factors. Number one, during his time in Italy, he's obviously played for some exceptionally poor teams who've really struggled. And, if you go back and watch Sampdoria's games, you can see a situation where they are playing a lot of balls that don't suit him, that are exceptionally poor, a lot of channel runs. That's not his game. He's a very technically gifted player, two-footed, favours his left foot over his right, can play in the 10 role as well as the striker role, can be exceptionally creative and bring others into play. Now, Michael Beale is someone who is obviously renowned for getting the best out of players. We've only got to look at Todd Cantwell. Todd Cantwell hadn't scored for Norwich. I think it was in a year, 18 months. When he arrived at Rangers. Now, obviously, he's got back to scoring. He's scoring, I think, 4 goals his last 16 games, creating a number of chances, and certainly being Rangers' best player. He was certainly someone who, when he was at Norwich, at times Norwich fans didn't rate him. They called him a bit of a playboy, a bit of a showman, a bit of a maverick, and not in a good way, a maverick. So we've got to take that into account and trust Michael Beale, trust his judgment, and give him, the opportunity to turn this player around, to turn this player into someone who is going to be a valuable asset to the club. And certainly that's got to be the hope, hasn't it, with Sam Lammers? He's certainly got the technical skill and the technical ability to make it as a player. You've only got to look at some of the moves, the guy can pull, the way the guy manipulates the football, that natural sort of Dutch skill that seems to come along for that total football style. He seems to have all that. He does favour playing in a 2-man strike force. He has played, for Atalanta. Atalanta use a very similar system with two two wide strikers, which Michael Beale has been employing in recent games. Certainly something that Lammers can do, and certainly that would fit into the Rangers system. Obviously, he's coming to a club as well where we 95% of games we dominate from the get-go. We dominate possession, we dominate chances, we create a lot of chances. I think he had 22 shots on goal in his time at Sampdoria. The chance creation was exceptionally limited indeed. So we've got to sort of take that into consideration, haven't we? We've got to give this guy a chance. Anyone who pulls on a Rangers shirt, for me, you've got to get behind them. You've got to support them. You've got to give them your all, haven't you? And I think Lammers is no different there in terms of his future at the club. Now let's move on to talk about a striker who is obviously currently signed to Rangers, and that is Antonio Colak. Now, obviously, Colak missed a fair number of games last season through injury. But when he was playing, he seemed to be, for me, a decent striker, someone who took his chances, someone who knew where the goal was. Certainly someone who needs a chance creating from him. He's not someone who's going to get the ball, beat 2-3 players and create a gap or opportunity for himself. That's not the sort of player he is. He's not a Malik Tillman style. He's not a Todd Cantwell style player. Even to some degree, he's not a Sam Lammers or a Searle or a Josh Madger. That's not the way he plays. And with better service, would Colak score more goals? Now, it certainly seems that Rangers this summer are working towards creating a more attacking, forceful team, a more creative team. You look at the likes of Kieran Dowell that's been signed, support for the strikers, whether that's Dessers or Lammers, talks of wingers coming in, talks of players like Dujon Sterling, a wing back coming in. Lots of different ways that chances can be created. Now, can Antonio Colak, come through and with more chances being created, with more opportunities created, become a striker who gets 20-25 goals a season, can be kept in the squad, can be a player who perhaps doesn't play all games, perhaps doesn't play the big games against Celtic in Europe, only plays the games against those smaller teams who put the low block on. Something that Colak's proved he can overcome. Is that something we do? If it is, as it seems to be, that Rangers are moving down the aisle of signing Lammers and Dessers, adding him obviously to Kemar Roofe, who is going nowhere because Kemar Roofe is not going to be bought by anyone apart from possibly Medical Science. There's no chance of him going anywhere, is there? So, do we keep Colak and that gives us our four strikers, Dessers, Lammers, Colak and Roofe? Yes, that is a risk. You've got two very injury-prone strikers in Colak and one injury-prone striker and one extremely injury-prone striker in Roofe, and two unproven quantities in Dessers and Lammers, as any new signings would be in this team. And yes, I know what you can argue that Van Veen and Shankland have scored goals in the SPL. Yeah, for Hearts and Motherwell. And Hearts and Motherwell don't come against teams that tend to put two solid banks of five in front of them and say, yeah, okay, come and break us down then. If you look at Colak's stats from last season, here's the Champions League qualifiers. I'm only taking the stats where he actually scored goals. He did obviously participate in other competitions like the Champions League proper, for example. So in the Champions League qualifiers, he had 4 appearances, scoring 3 goals. He was in 100% of Rangers starting 11s, played 97% of Rangers minutes, and had 50% goal contribution. So was responsible for half Rangers goals in the Champions League qualifiers. If we take the SFA Cup, he made 3 appearances, scoring a single goal for the club. Played in 50% of the starting 11s, 45% of the minutes, and a 14% goal contribution. In the Premiership pre the split, he had 24 appearances, 13 goals, 3 assists. So that's 16 goal contributions in 24 games. That's pretty good. 20% goal contribution participation as well. So 1/5 of Rangers' goals came from goals Antonio Colak was involved in. He played in 47% of the start of the Rangers minutes and was in 55% of their starting 11s due to obviously injury and obviously being on the bench in favour of Alfredo Morelos. So does that starting 11 figure kind of make his goal participation figure even more potent, even more impressive? Add to that, of course, the fact that he played 1 game post the split and was involved in 1 goal as well. So, pretty decent return there. Overall, this last season, if you go through and look at it, how many goals he scored, that's what 18 goals in all competitions, actually getting close to what Tav got in the league. So a pretty decent return. So, is Colak someone we need to keep hold of? Is Colak the sort of player that can really give something different? He's more a target man. He's more, like I said, a box striker. Is that a difference? Is that an alternative? Dessers and Lammers don't seem to be that. Roof certainly isn't that. So, is that something that we need to look at? The fact that keeping Colak gives us a very different weapon. Or is Michael Beale going to cash in on him? There's offers reportedly 3-4 million from the Bundesliga. And, Beale did challenge Colak at the end of last season, did he, to stay fit more, to get more opportunities. So, where are we at with Colak? What's your opinion? For me, it seems very much like he is moving towards the exit door. That seems to be how he is talking, in terms of the way he's looking, and obviously he hired a new agent as well towards the end of the season. Again, that's a big hint when you're not negotiating a new contract that you are looking for a move away from the club. So is it, like I said, that this is the last dance of Antonio Colak and we will see him somewhere else next season? I guess only time will tell. But look, guys, what I would love your opinions on this. What do you think? Do you think that Colak is off out of here? Is Colak on his way out of Rangers? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, let's move on now to talk about another player who played well last season for Rangers at times, and that being Malik Tillman. Now, obviously, there is speculation about Malik Tillman's future at this moment in time. Where will he be? Is he someone who is going to come back to Rangers? Is he worth the money? That's another one. That's a big one that is mentioned a lot by Rangers fans. Is he worth the 5 million? What is the situation with him? So it's still, like I said, it's very much up in the air. Obviously Bayern Munich are going through a bit of an upheaval themselves, having sacked their sporting director, sacked their chief executive, and obviously sacked their coach as well. So they're in a bit of an upheaval themselves. So, what is the situation there? Well, from reports coming out of Germany, it seems that Bayern Munich have indicated that, in their opinion, they can get more than the £5 million for Tillman that Rangers were thought to want to pay for the American international. Now, rumours have it that Brentford and Brighton in the Premier League, yes, I know they may not seem massive names, but they did perform exceptionally well, getting into the top 10 of the Premier League last season, are interested in securing the same services of Malik Tillman. And, given the fact that 5 million is pretty much nothing in Premier League terms, Bayern Munich now feel, with interest coming from the Premier League, that they can get a great deal more money for Malik Tillman and cash in on him. Certainly they insert that sell-on clause. He succeeds in the Premier League, he's going to be worth an awful lot more money than if he succeeds in the SPL. Yes, I love Rangers. Yes, I love Scottish football. But at the end of the day, we have to admit it is not the same product the EPL is. And there is a strong opportunity there that, selling Tillman to one of those two Premier League clubs, although they are both smaller clubs than Rangers and can't offer the trophy lifts, can't offer the Champions League or Europa League football. Well, I suppose they can offer Europa League. I think as far as I'm aware, Brighton qualify for the Europa League. But, at the end of the day, this is something that that Bayern Munich clearly want to play hardball on. They want as much money as possible for their player. That as we would if he was our player. But it does seem highly unlikely that Tillman will return and that he will be sold to another European club for substantially more than the 5 million fee that was demanded from Rangers. Further news, obviously, about the future of Glenn Kamara. Glenn Kamara dropped a huge hint in an interview that he gave to the media about his future. The Finnish international had this to say when being interviewed. He says, "I've been on holiday mode, so I've taken my mind off football. We've had conversations a couple of months ago, so I'm not surprised with those comments." Obviously talking about Michael Beale's comments saying that he could leave and he had a lot of thinking to do. "I feel like I know where I'm at in my head, and he knows it too. I'm not going to say anything. Time will tell, I guess. Can you assume I'm seriously considering a move? No comment. How do I reflect on my time there? It's been an amazing 4.5 years I'll have spent there come this summer to join such a massive club and have all the support I did. The fans are amazing, and depending on where you go next, you might never ever see that again. Rangers fans are crazy, but in a good way. The club stature is massive, having Europa League run, winning the league, going unbeaten, winning a cup. I had some good times there. Now, this is the key statement. Listen to what Glenn Kamara says and listen to the tense that he speaks in. I think there's a big clue here. I had some good times there. We could definitely have done better because with the teams we had, we just came up short a few times. But I had a really good time. I won trophies there. I did things I'd never done in my career before. And so it certainly does seem from that from that interview that Glenn Kamara has given, that he's talking very much in past tense about his time at Rangers. Now, given the fact that he is talking in past tense, is that making it even more likely that he will move on and he will be sold this he will move on and he will be sold this summer. Now, Rangers have reportedly put a £5 million price tag on Glenn Kamara and hoping to obviously get some of that 5 million. Given the fact that they did only pay 50,000, that would represent a huge profit for the club. So, it does seem like at this moment in time, from what the club are saying, and also now from what Glenn Kamara is saying, that his time at Rangers is well and truly over. Well, guys, that's pretty much it for this morning for all the news, apart from two last stories, guys. So hang on, there are two last stories to come. Penultimate story is this one here about Dave King. Now, you may have read in the papers that was reported that Dave King was teaming up with the Easdale brothers. Now their court case is over, to form a partnership to make a bid for control at Ibrox. A report on Tuesday evening suggested that Rangers chairman had held talks with Sandy and James Easdale over a move to return to the boardroom. It was suggested that King will have around 20 million shares in the PLC. So the Easdale brothers, will have around 20 million shares returned to them after a court order. It was bizarrely claimed that King and the Easdales, who were forced out of Ibrox following regime change in 2015, could work together to attempt a boardroom coup alongside unnamed American investors. But Dave King has now moved to unequivocally deny that he has entered any talks at all with the Easdale brothers. There is no talks, there is no negotiation, there is no takeover coming from King and Easdale. Now, King, who has been a vocal critic of former Rangers chairman Douglas Park, has been less critical and also very quiet over John Bennett at this moment in time, and seems to be keeping his powder dry over all the changes that are currently being made to Rangers board. In a recent interview, Dave King did state that he was 100% behind Bennett and Bisgrove, and said, "I have no idea whatsoever the so-called Easdale shares have been released by a court order. I was the one who had them blocked and cannot conceive for a good reason why this would be overturned by a court. What I can say emphatically is that I have had no discussions with the Easdales for many years, and they have made no attempt to contact me. They know that I would never enter into any alliance with them." So it does appear that story is utterly false about Dave King entering into an alliance with the Easdales to get a controlling stake in Rangers. I think obviously the club is ripe for takeover. The club is in a position where it could attract investors. It just has to find the right investors. And I think obviously this story just to show how that the club is obviously out there for investment, and there are people obviously talking, and the press put 2 and 2 together and get 5, and obviously come up with this story. So that's obviously good that Dave King has cleared that up, that there will be no move by him and the Easdales to take control of the club. Okay, also a little bit of news about the club as well. Rangers have announced that the museum will open on Monday, July the 31st, with priority access available to Edmiston House supporters package members. The museum will be the centrepiece of Edmiston House, and will obviously share with you great moments from Rangers history, as well as trophies, shirts, medals, loads of stuff to do with the club, loads of audio visual stuff, and as you heard on the podcast the other day, lots of interactive stuff. So get yourself along on July the 31st onwards and visit the Rangers Museum. Okay, final story this morning is about Glasgow Rangers Nation. Once again, a huge massive thank you over 2 things. Number 1, we have passed 1,800 subscribers now. We are on 1,811. My ambition is to hit 2,000 as soon soon as possible. When we get to 3K, we've got some more exciting plans for the channel. And obviously as well, news yesterday that we have passed 250,000 views as well. Phenomenal support by you guys out there, just showing what a fantastic family we are, how amazingly huge this club is. Thank you so much for all your support, all your kind words, your comments, your memberships, your super chats, your super thanks, your super stickers. We appreciate everything you do to support this channel. Thank you so much indeed for that amazing achievement. Well, guys, keep your eyes open, keep your ears to the ground, because I will be back soon to speak to you here on Glasgow Rangers Nation. We are the people.